I hope everyone's doing well. I hope that everyone's staying healthy and trying to stay positive and be kind to yourselves. Hello BookTube Nation, I'm Sam here again with A Bear and a Bee Books, and today I'm really excited. I have something special planned. I am filming my 100th video. 100th video? Yeah. I also had wanted to do something to celebrate some previous milestones I had hit on both Twitter and YouTube. I do have another something coming for that, but I have to purchase a book in order to do that for you. But something had been voted on Twitter a while ago, and it's something I definitely still want to get to, but it's regarding a book I don't have in my collection yet. My most popular video is my Word Cloud Classics collection, which I will link down below. It's a little bit of an older video, but it's definitely still applicable. I still love the collection and I do still collect them. I may have some ones here that maybe I didn't have in that video yet. I don't buy them often because they're not super easy to find, but I do add to the collection whenever I get a chance or whenever I see a new one released that I'm interested in. So what I'm doing today is I'm going to do book recommendations from the Word Cloud Classics collection. The first one I wanted to talk about is Black Beauty, and this is by Anna Sewell. I really enjoyed this. I gave it 5 stars when I read it. I was doing like a bedtime thing. It was like a series on my channel, and I read 2 out of the 3 of that, and I started Anne of Green Gables. I was reading it out loud to my daughter, but I think she's still too young for that one, so I should probably just pick it up myself and get through the 3rd book for that one. But anyway, this is about a horse named Black Beauty, and the great thing about reading classics, of course, is that once you read the classic you can go ahead and watch the adaptation, and I did that with this and really enjoyed it. I think I picked up the adaptation from the 70s, I think. I'm not 100% sure on that, but there are a couple out there. So this just follows the horse Black Beauty pretty much throughout their entire life. So you see them from a colt to, you know, adulthood and later into their senior years. And I think this is really good for anyone interested in children's literature or anyone that likes books that span an entire lifetime, or even journey books, because I felt like this, though it wasn't like fantastical in its journey experience, I felt like because we followed the character for their whole life, you really do get the feeling of going on a journey. I love like hero's journey type books, and I think that love translated well for this. Next is one that I read a while ago, and I've since picked up this beautiful edition, and that is The Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. Now, when I was a kid, I loved this movie. I would watch it over and over and over, and I didn't read the full text until I was an adult. But I really enjoyed this. It is different than the movie, but I found a lot of new reasons to really enjoy this. I think the ending I liked better in the movie, but this one had a better journey aspect to it. And I felt like there was, there's one in particular scene in here that I really, really love. And it has been in some of the later adaptations. I don't want to spoil it, but if you've read it, I'm sure you know what I mean. And one character from that particular scene becomes part of the main storyline, and I really enjoyed her. I think that if you enjoy books like Harry Potter or Inkheart by Cornelia Funk, and of course Harry Potter is by J.K. Rowling, I think you would really enjoy this. I just, you know, it's the good versus evil, and the going on a journey, the hero's journey again. You can tell I really like that trope. Next is Jane Austen. So I'm still searching for my favorite Austen, but right now this one brings me a lot of comfort. I noticed thinking about it since I read it that when I'm not feeling well, or if I'm unable to physically read, I will listen to this on audiobook. So it's a story that has become kind of part of me. So I have a lot of memories listening to this. And I never fully listened to the whole thing, but I just find it very soothing and very comforting, and it always helps me to fall asleep if I'm having a hard time sleeping, or again, if I'm not feeling well. It's kind of like one of the things I need on my list. You know, Persuasion by Jane Austen, chicken noodle soup, a blanket, you know. So it definitely is in my get well basket. But yeah, again, this is Persuasion by Jane Austen, and if you haven't read this, this I think I connected with because the protagonist in this is Austen's oldest protagonist, and I didn't start reading Austen fully, I believe, into my 30s, so this, I felt like I connected with her more than some of her other heroines. But for me, this one all hinges on, there's a letter in this, and when you get to the letter, you'll know there's lots of feels, lots of emotions, and they also go on a trip in this, which I really enjoyed. I do like travel in books. I think Captain Wentworth is a great hero, and Anne is just such a great lead. I really, I loved her. I loved the hero. I love the direction that this story goes. She does, of course, it's Austen, so there is a happy ending, but she goes through so much heartache and in order to get there. And I think it's so much, it's so full of hope. It's almost like she's grown when the book starts, but it still feels like a bit of a coming of age story, because you really feel that she steps outside of herself and she learns who she is and what she wants, and she learns how to say no to others, really. And I know for me, saying no is a big thing. You know, this has a lot to do with people putting their expectations on her, and she finally learns to go for what she wants. And I don't know, it was really beautiful, and I love it. And if you haven't read this of Austen's, I know it's not one of her, you know, the most, like Pride and Prejudice, or you know, Emma's also very popular, I believe. But yeah, I would recommend this, and it's one of her shortest ones, so it's very easy to read, and they're just so pretty. Let's see, I'll show you the end pages for the other two as well. There's the poppies from Wizard of Oz, and there's the horse in Black Beauty. I kind of want to talk about these two together, because I think that if you like one, you'll like the other, and vice versa. And I think it's kind of like a children's literature and an adult literature companion. And so I wanted to talk about these two together. So firstly, let's talk about the children's book, and that is The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. And here is the leaves and the end pages. They are very pretty. This one is really interesting. The protagonist in this starts out as not a very nice person. She is spoiled, and she is affluent, and she thinks that the world revolves around herself. But then she goes through these awful, terrible, awful things that, being a mother, I couldn't imagine any child going through that on their own. I don't want to give any spoilers, so I won't get into the ins and outs of it. She comes to live in this manor with some distant relations, and it is all about how she grows to be a better person, how she takes all these awful circumstances that have happened to her, and she uses them to grow. And yeah, it's a really beautiful journey. If you like books about nature, there's a lot of garden in here. I mean, it's in the title, but there is. If you enjoy reading books that take place outside, I highly recommend this. And you know, it has like all the atmosphere and the gothic feels of a big old house. And the adult version I would like to recommend is Jane Eyre. Now, this is, of course, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Brontë. I just recently finally got to this one. I just read it with Paige, and I will link her channel down below. Go check her out. Yeah, I loved this. I have realized with classics, I read a lot of other things too. I read some YA, I read some historical fiction, I read some contemporary fiction, but for me, classics are the books that they just seem to stay with you. Like, it doesn't really matter how long ago you read them. I read Wuthering Heights over 20 years ago, and I still remember some of it. So there's something to be said, I think, about falling in love with a classic. I mean, number one, it's everywhere. It's part of our culture. You can then watch the adaptations, which are a lot of fun. I haven't gotten to this one yet, but I'm excited to. And so anyway, this book, of course, is about Jane Eyre, and she's an orphan, and she ends up going to school and then becoming a governess. And, you know, same kind of thing. It's got that atmosphere, that gothic feel to it. This one, though, has a lot more sinister feel than this one. There is like a mystery in both of them, but this one gets quite a bit darker. But yeah, it's just wonderful. It's, I find that it is a coming of age story, of course, for Jane, and you really see her character and you see her growth. You see her struggle a lot with herself, which I always appreciate. You know, the internal struggle that we all go through and you don't always see in real life, but that's one reason I love to read, because you see that these people are thinking about maybe things that you've thought about, or they're struggling with things perhaps that you've struggled with. And I really liked like the introspection. But yeah, it's wonderful. I really loved it. And I think that if you like atmospheric books, if you like gothic books, if you like books that have interesting female characters, I'd check them out. And finally, I have Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. This is currently my favorite book. I read it last year at Christmas and I just fell in love with her writing, so much so that the very next month, read another book by her that had sections of this in it. It was a Christmas book, very good. I'll link down below my monthly wrap up for that. I know some people say this is just too sweet for them and that it's very almost sickly sweet, but I originally grew up in New England, and parts of this felt very home to me, because even though this is set a long time ago, for me, there were different things in this that I could identify with. The house I grew up in, we had like a wood burning stove, and we had like surrounding woods, and those types of things felt very tangible in this to me. It's also about so much of the good part of humanity. Like, I know humanity can be twisted, but humanity can also be genuinely good, and there are people out there who are like people in this book. It is still out there in the world, and I know nowadays, especially, you know, with the media and social media, you can feel bombarded by the negative sometimes, but things like this bring back the positive. It's so focused on family and love and faith. And there's, of course, the 4 March sisters. And another reason I love this book is because the 4 sisters are so different that I think everybody can identify with one of the 4 sisters. I've said before in another one of my videos that I find a little bit of Meg and a little bit of Jo. If you like anything like feel-good stories, if you like wholesome books, this would be a great one to read right now if you're looking for something uplifting. But it also has a lot of scenes set in Christmas time. So I really enjoyed reading this during the month of December. It just really brought it to life for me. Right now, this is my favorite book of all time. And of course, that will change as I read maybe throughout the years. It used to be The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. So, but this is now my current #1. Let's show you those end pages. There's the sisters. So I am losing my light. As you can see, it looks like it's gonna maybe storm. I wanted to get this video out to you though. I was really excited to film it for you. I've loved these stories and they've stuck with me. And I hope if you read them that you love them too. I think that it's great to read contemporary literature and support current authors, but I think there's also a special place in any reader's journey for some beloved classics. That's all I have here for you today. I just want to thank you if you're a new subscriber. Hi! Thank you so much for being here with me. And if you're a returning subscriber, hi! Thank you. I really appreciate you. It's so nice that when you put all this effort into it that I can, share my love of books with people. And I love when people comment. And, if you've read any of these, please let me know. If there's any others in the Word Cloud Classics collection that you think I should get to, please let me know. But I love these books. I love to hold them. I love to read them. They're great additions to use, I think. Thanks for being here with me today. Farewell for now. Bye-bye.